Looking for the perfect getaway in the heart of Utah's scenic beauty? Welcome to Mountain Valley RV Resort in the stunning Heber Valley, Utah's highest-rated RV destination. Enjoy spacious RV sites, cozy cabins, and tent spots, all nestled against the stunning Rocky Mountains and shadow of Mount Timpanogos. Dive into heated pools, relax in hot tubs, or challenge friends on pickleball courts. Families love the playgrounds and sports courts, while adults can unwind in exclusive 21-plus areas featuring a luxurious clubhouse and spa. With top-notch amenities and breathtaking views, Mountain Valley RV Resort offers an unforgettable experience year-round. Whether you're seeking adventure or relaxation, Mountain Valley RV Resort is your home away from home. Book your stay today at mountainvalleyrv.com.
Looking for the perfect getaway in the heart of Red Rock Country? Discover Grand Plateau RV Resort in Kanab, Utah, where comfort meets adventure. Spacious RV sites, luxury cabins, and top-tier amenities make every stay unforgettable. Take a dip in the heated pool, relax in the spa, or unwind with private restrooms and pickleball too. Minutes from Zion, Bryce Canyon, and the Grand Canyon, Grand Plateau RV Resort is your ideal base camp for exploring the Southwest's natural wonders. And when the day winds down, enjoy starry skies and peaceful nights under the desert sky. Adventure, comfort, and convenience. That's Grand Plateau RV Resort. Book your stay today at gprvresort.com.
The True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is July 17th right now. We're back. We had a week off. I went on vacation, which was super fun. I had a great time relaxing. It was very nice to swim as being a huge pregnant whale because, oh my God, like the weight being taken off my, I guess your pelvis or whatever it is, felt so good because I have so much pain when I walk now. I always go in the pool, but like this year I stayed in the pool. So it was lovely. Olivia unfortunately didn't have as lovely of a week while I was away and got in big trouble with the meta world somehow.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't have actually been in trouble. It's like an absolute them error, but we've just spoken about a lot about this in Patreon, but basically Meta AI has gone rogue. It seems to be with mainly non-US people, a lot in Asia, South Pacific, which is me. Great, thankfully. But I was just scrolling Instagram Facebook about a week ago. All of a sudden it popped up, account suspended. I put in an appeal straight away. It was basically automatically denied. I'm like, what is going on? Permanently disabled my Facebook account, which is linked to all the true crime stuff. Permanently disabled my Instagram accounts just because they were linked to Meta, which is wild to me. None of these accounts had any strikes. I had no warning. I'm like, what is going on? So over the past week, I've been doing a bunch of research. There's something going on. Meta actually announced this week they have removed 10 million accounts for spam and like cutting down on crappy AI content. And I just want to like clarify, not once in my life have I ever used AI to make any content.
No, it's all that bullshit you get that we've definitely talked about. I don't know if on here or Patreon with like a
this
grandma
guy turned
crying.
100. Yeah.
Yeah. Holding
Can he
a
have
cake.
some 100 likes for his 100th birthday and
Yeah.
all this? And like, even I'm like, when I log on to Facebook, I see a million Elon Musks on there. Like, why are they not banning these people? My account was under my legal name. I could have provided ID, wasn't given a chance. Anyway, long story short, we've applied for Meta Verified on True Crime Society. I've since tried it twice. One person was a bot and just was very basically unhelpful. The other person tried for the entire day to help me. She actually called me, and in the end, she said that from her end, she cannot see what the restriction is. I'll just read it out because I just, her comment, made me laugh in a shitty situation. I'm just finding it again, sorry. She wrote, "Hi Liv, as a Meta representative, I have to guide you on what I can, but as a personal opinion to you, you have the total right to fight for your account, and I would do the same." Anyway, so there's more and more articles coming out Meta South Korea have acknowledged that there is an issue. Meta US have not. I have lodged an appeal with the Small Business Ombudsman here because it is affecting our business. Like they were very, very super responsive, which gives me a sliver of hope. They did say they will lodge my appeal to Meta. It'll take 1 to 2 weeks. I don't know, like, so my account, the reason they ended up giving me for my account was account integrity. I don't know anything else apart from that. A lot of people have been actually getting banned for child sex exploitation, which is crazy. Like I've seen teachers, mothers. A lady posted a photo of her 3 dogs and her account was suspended ASAP for child sex exploitation reasons after posting photos of her dogs. I feel like their AI has just gone wild. And I feel like they won't acknowledge it because it will lead to lawsuits. There is a class action against Meta at the moment. There's a change.org petition. So if this has happened to you, log on there. There's over 30,000 signatures on there now. If it has happened to you, you're not alone. I have emailed people at Meta, like other content creators have given me direct emails of people at Meta. I've had no response. There's one content creator called Kimberlea. She is from Dark Liberty True Crime. She had her account taken. I feel like this was a separate issue, but her account, it took her 1 year to get it back. She has 400,000 followers on YouTube. Like it's happening to millions and millions of people. So I just wanted to give her a shout out because she has been so helpful. Her podcast is amazing. So definitely check it out. But it's just a wild time. Like literally, I didn't post anything bad. I never posted anything, say, political. I'm not into US politics anyway. I never posted anything political because I've seen some people getting banned for those type of reasons. I was literally just scrolling, all of a sudden account banned. So a stressful time. I know it's a dumb, stupid problem, but I was just saying in Patreon too, the learnings I have from this, A, don't trust Meta. B, unlink all of your Meta accounts because the only reason my Instagrams were taken, my podcast went out over 6,000 followers, which I'm pretty gutted about because that was a lot of work and a lot of years in that. Unlink it all. The only reason that Meta told me the only reason my Instagrams were removed is because they were linked to this Facebook account. Also, your WhatsApp can also be taken if you use that. Unlink everything. Don't put phone numbers in the same. Just basically have it all as separate as you can to try and give yourself a little bit of hope if something like this happens to you.
Yeah, so if anyone else out there can help us by the time this comes out, if she still doesn't have her accounts back, please reach out, message True Crime Society on Instagram or me or contact us somehow.
Like I was just saying in Patreon too, do you know what? I'm over Facebook. They do this all the time to many people. I am sad about, like the main thing I'm sad about is now I don't have access to True Crime Society, which has 250,000 followers and it's been going for 8 years. No strikes, no restrictions, nothing on there. But I do feel like Facebook is probably a dying platform. But so I'm angry about not having access to the true crime thing. And I'm also angry is that once they disable your account with no warning, you can't get your data. You can request your data download and all it is like your URL. You can't get your photos or anything like that. So my next step is if the Ombudsman can't help, I'm going to go to the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner and at least hopefully get my data so I can have that. Like I do back up all my photos anyway on hard drives. So I recommend absolutely do not have social media as your only way of storing your stuff. Keep it elsewhere because this can happen literally in a second with no warning, nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I did have one little silly story quickly that I have saved and just remembered.
We can do a good shit sandwich, like good news, bad news, good news.
Well, I guess it ends with good news because it was also not a good experience. It was kind of a similar customer service experience that you had with Meta, and again, a first world problem. I think I don't know if I mentioned on the main podcast or on Patreon, but just like briefly, I ordered a Nintendo Switch 2 from Walmart. Like I got the early release because I have Walmart Plus because I do grocery delivery. Not that any of that matters. I wasn't even really planning on buying it, but Walmart was like, oh, you get like 1 hour early access before everyone else. And if you don't know, the Switch 2's been hard to get. Like it's sold out everywhere. So I was like, well, since I get early access, like might as well. So I ordered it. Of course, it says it's going to be here in like 2 days because it's like super fast shipping. Of course, somehow my order like gets lost in the mix and just says it's like coming. I talked to Walmart customer service. They're like, oh my God, we're going to escalate this problem. We're going to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. I had low hopes because like I said, the Switch 2 like sells out very fast still and people have been fighting to get it. So I was like, there's no way they still have one floating around. Mine's definitely gone. But I was like, all right, just like let me know. So then I finally get a notification after a couple days, like it's coming, like it's being dropped off from the store, like a delivery driver person's bringing it from Walmart to my house. And I was like, oh my God, it's coming. I was so excited. I was at work. And so then a little bit later, I got the notification that it's delivered. I see the person on the camera at my house. They put it on the doorstep. And I was like, yay, it's here. So I text my sister. I was like, can you go put it inside? Because she lives near me. And I didn't want it sitting like outside on my front porch in the sun all day for one, but also because the Nintendo Switch 2 is pretty expensive. I just don't want it sitting outside. So my sister goes to my house and she goes to my front door and looks, and she's like, it's dog food. And I was like, what? She was like, I'm not even joking, it's dog food. And then I say, no, next to the dog food, because somehow Walmart has misdelivered me now dog food twice. I don't have a dog. With one of my grocery orders like a week before this, they also gave me dog food that I didn't order that was still on my stoop. So I'm like, no, next to the dog food. She's like, no, it's more dog food. And she sent me a picture, and it's this little box of like wet dog food cans. And I'm like, oh. So my Switch definitely got stolen. So then I'm messaging Walmart. I'm telling them that it's dog food. Like, I want to just cancel the whole order. Clearly, I'm not getting the Switch. I just want to be refunded the money at this point. And they're like, oh, okay, of course. Like, that's, like, ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like the same thing with you and Meta, how they're like, no, we totally understand, girl. Like, yes, girl. Yes, queen. Like, please. But then they tell me, okay, we're going to refund the money and reverse the charges, but we need you to bring the dog food back to the store. And I was like, what? So I'm absolutely not bringing this little, probably $7 pack of dog food back to Walmart. I get grocery delivery for a reason, because I don't want to fucking go to the store. I was like, I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm not bringing you back this dog food. And I was like, if you guys want it so bad, it's still on my front step. Come and friggin' get it. I'm like, no, it's really important so that we can track this and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I could send you a picture of it. And they're like, it's really important you bring back the dog food. Please bring back the dog food. And I was like, am I getting refunded the money? Yes or no? And they're like, yeah, it'll take like 10 days, 5 to 10 days with your bank, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And they're like, okay, but bring back the dog food. And I was like, okay. And you know what I threw out yesterday? The dog food.
It's interesting, because I always thought with things that could be consumed either by pets or animals, they weren't pets or people, they weren't allowed to take them back. Like you basically have to keep them.
But half the time, they're like, any other time something like this has happened, I mean, I don't use like Walmart that much where it's like stuff that's returnable like that. But they're just like, oh, just keep it. Like, it's not even worth it. But I think they wanted to, like, track it somehow. But I'm like, I could send you the sticker. I don't know. And then I did get the money back, but it was only because then I started getting impatient. So I just did a chargeback on the whole thing through my, like, bank account. So, whatever. But it was just kind of a silly story of my sister being like, me being so excited, like, oh my God, the Switch came. I didn't think it was going to come. And my sister being like, it's dog food. And I was like, no, next to the dog food. She's like, it's more dog food. If anyone's wondering, though, I did get a Switch from Best Buy. So thank you, Best Buy.
Crazy times.
Yeah, again, totally a first world problem, but it was a silly story. So hopefully it made someone laugh a little bit.
Even though we've had a few weeks off, we haven't forgotten Listener of the Week. This one is Emily. She left a comment on one of our latest episodes. She said, while the field of true crime podcasts is saturated beyond belief, yours is hands down the best. I've been listening for 2+ years, and you ladies have made every Thursday the best day of the week. I appreciate your witty humor and your grit. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Well, that's so nice.
I was going to say thank you for the compliment, because it makes the sometimes rude ones that we get sting a little bit less.
We did have lots of nice comments on Instagram. People going, where are you guys? Why is there no new episode on Spotify? So hopefully everyone's happy that we're back.
Yeah, so I guess that we didn't clarify enough that we were going to be taking off, because not everyone has Instagram and things like that. And then we switched around some of the recordings. So we did talk about taking a week off in the Stockdale episode. So maybe that's why people were confused, because then we pushed that one back.
Oh no, next week they'll be like, what?
Yeah, I took it out when I edited it, but yeah, I didn't know. So maybe that's why people were confused. So we're sorry. I was on vacation. Okay, so let's get into what we're talking about today. We are talking about the case of Andrea Yates, which is a pretty prolific, is maybe not the right word, but it's a case that infamous that a lot of people know, have heard of. I think it was a pretty pivotal case in terms of acknowledging mental health, especially postpartum depression and what women can go through in pregnancy. I feel like it was kind of like the first of its kind in a way.
Yes, and I was going to say, I feel like this happened kind of just before social media exploded, so it's maybe a little bit of a lesser known case, whereas if it happened today, it would be, like a very, very high profile case. It's kind of a little bit like John Bonet, which is not like, it's not at all in terms of the type of crime, but how it was reported on. It was, a little bit before social media, so maybe some of our listeners won't be too familiar with it. It's a very interesting case, an absolutely shocking case.
I've definitely said this before on the podcast, but I'll say it again because it's relevant. I remember I was in my high school, my senior year, criminology, criminal justice class, and for our final projects, everyone was getting assigned cases to do like a big report on, and we would just randomly get assigned which one we were doing. And so many people got like serial killers and like all these like crazy cases, John Bonet, like Son of Sam, Ted Bundy. And then I get Andrea Yates. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I've never even heard of this. Why don't I get a quote unquote like cool case? But then when I actually started researching it, I was like, wow, this is like way more interesting than I thought it was because of all of the things that we just mentioned. So it like opened my eyes at a pretty young age too, because of all of the different themes with mental health and everything. So in the end, I found it super interesting, even though at first I was like, who's Andrea Yates?
Yeah.
So this episode's been suggested to us a lot over the years, most recently by Katie. So thank you for putting it back on our radar. If you don't know about the case of Andrea Yates, she is a woman who confessed to drowning her 5 young children in the bath in June 2001, but this was due to what appears to be postpartum psychosis.
Rusty Yates prays and hugs his family at a candlelight vigil in front of the courthouse where his wife, Andrea Yates, was convicted of capital murder for drowning their 5 young children last June.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Andrea Pia Yates, guilty of capital murder as charged in the indictment.
Yates showed little reaction in the courtroom to the verdict, but according to defense attorney George Parnham, Yates is upset.
Very upset, very upset.
Rusty Yates dropped his head in his hands and cried at the verdict. On the opposite side of the courtroom, Yates' mother, Karen Kennedy, appeared visibly shaken. After 17 days of emotional and often heartbreaking testimony, jurors took just 3.5 hours to reach their decision, all but one avoiding looking at Yates as they returned to render their verdict.
No, I obviously don't agree with the verdict, but it's my job as a lawyer to accept it.
Defense attorneys had argued that Yates was legally insane and grossly psychotic when she drowned the children, believing she was saving them from hell.
I'm not critiquing or criticizing the verdict, but it seems to me that we're still back in the days of the Salem witchcraft.
But the jury obviously agreed with the prosecution, which argued Yates knew her actions were wrong despite her mental illness. Neither the prosecutors who argued the case or District Attorney Chuck Rosenthal had any comment.
Can't comment yet. Gag order still in force. It will be till the end of the trial. I'll comment then.
All right, so I'll start some background about Andrea because it is very important to the whole story, I would say. So she was born Andrea Pia Kennedy on July 2nd, 1965 in Houston, Texas. And she was the youngest of 5 children. Her parents were Jutta Kohler, who was a German immigrant, and Andrew Kennedy. And Andrew's parents, they were Irish immigrants. During high school, Andrea was said to struggle with bulimia and depression and spoke to a friend about her suicidal thoughts when she was just 17 years old. She signed a friend's yearbook as the struggling butterfly. She graduated from Milby High School in 1982. Despite her mental health struggles, she was the class valedictorian and captain of the swim team and was also part of the National Honor Society. So it seems like she did a lot, probably had a lot of stress in her life.
Yeah, it seems like she was quite a high achiever as well. So maybe that was part of the stress and anxiety that she was either placed upon her or placed upon herself.
Yeah. After she graduated, she completed a 2-year pre-nursing program at the University of Houston, and she then went on to graduate from the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston. Between 1986 and 1994, Andrea worked as a registered nurse at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. So obviously also being a registered nurse, not an easy job at all. Very stressful, I would say. Andrea didn't date anyone until she was 23 years old. In the summer of 1989, when she was around 25 years old, she met her would-be husband, Russell Yates, who goes by Rusty. Rusty was a NASA engineer. He was also known to be a devout evangelical Christian. The couple dated for a few years and were married on April 17th, 1993. They purchased a 4-bedroom house in Friendswood, Texas, and they told many friends and family that they would have as many babies as nature allowed, which I feel like is a very evangelical Christian
very
belief,
Duggar,
kind of.
Very Duggar of them.
Yes, that is what I was thinking too. A neighbor named Sylvia Cole told People he was adamant that they were going to have 6 kids. And she said she was really meek and easygoing, so I'm not sure if it was a joint decision. 10 months after they were married, the first child, Noah Jacob, was born, and that was on February 26, 1994. And around that time, Rusty accepted a job offer in Florida, and the family moved to a trailer in Seminole. After the birth of her first child, she was, quote, very happy, very strong, according to her longtime friend named Marlene. She also called herself Fertile Myrtle. Their second child, John Samuel, was born on December 15th, 1995, and their third child, Paul Abraham, was born on September 13th, 1997, so basically like 2 years-ish apart.
Yeah, and also very biblical names like Noah,
yes,
John, Paul Abraham, so you can see that there's a theme here as well.
Yes, they seem to be passionate about their religion.
Yeah.
After his birth, the family moved back to Houston and lived in a trailer. This decision was made as Rusty wanted to live light. Rusty eventually purchased a 350 square foot renovated bus, which became their home. 350 square feet is so tiny.
Imagine 3 little boys, like at that stage, plus 2 adults in a bus that size, just because Rusty wanted to live light. It would be a lot to be in such cramped quarters.
Live light while he was probably out at work all day and not having to deal with it.
Yeah. Like, so at this stage, one of the kids would have been at least 3 years old. Yeah, I'm sure at least 2 of them were walking. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm like looking at my bedroom right now, which I don't know anything about square feet, but I imagine it's bigger than 350 square feet or about that. I couldn't imagine there being 3 children in here with me.
Yeah.
Rusty purchased the bus from Michael Warrenicki, who was a traveling minister. Michael's religious views influenced both Andrea and Rusty. He preached the role of women is derived from the sin of Eve, and that bad mothers who are going to hell create bad children who will go to hell. So that quote is like important, I would say, to this.
Yeah,
story.
I think it influenced a lot of her parenting.
Yeah,
and her thinking after she had children.
Mm-hmm. Andrea was so captivated by Michael that Rusty and Andrea's family grew concerned. Michael was married to a woman named Rachel, and Rachel allegedly wrote letters to Andrea saying, "You are evil, you are wicked, you are a daughter of Eve who is a wicked witch. The window of opportunity for us to minister you is closing. You have to repent now." Just like a little rude.
Mm.
Their fourth child, Luke David, was born on February 15th, 1999. So again, 2 years after the last one, because that was 1997.
So she had at this stage 4 children in around 5 years. So that's a lot.
Yeah. After Luke's birth, Andrea's mental health began to decline. In June, Rusty found her shaking and chewing on her fingers. The following day, she attempted suicide by taking an overdose of medication that had been prescribed to her father. She was hospitalized following the incident. After her release, there was no concern on the hospital's part that she was at risk to her children, so she was never assigned a caseworker, and that was per the hospital afterwards. Oh no, that was per Harris County Children's Protective Services afterwards. Andrea was prescribed antidepressants and an antipsychotic medication. Despite being medicated, after she was released from the hospital, she held a knife to her neck and begged Rusty to let her die. Eventually, the medication did begin to help, and Andrea and her mental health improved. Rusty moved the family into a small house so that they didn't have to live in a motorhome any longer. So even they were living in that little tiny house with then 4 kids.
Yeah, I have read some things that maybe they purchased another trailer type situation thing, but either way, they weren't living in a house. They were living in very small, cramped quarters for now having 4 children.
Yeah. Andrea suffered a nervous breakdown in July 1999, and this is when she was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. So a little bit about postpartum psychosis, or PPP. It's a rare but serious mental health condition that affects about 1 to 2 in every 1,000 mothers after childbirth. This translates to a prevalence of approximately 0.1 to 0.2%. It is a serious mental health condition that can manifest with symptoms like delusions, hallucinations, severe mood swings, and cognitive difficulties. After her diagnosis, her first psychiatrist, Dr. Eileen Starbranch, urged both Andrea and Rusty to not have any more children. Dr. Starbranch said that any more births would guarantee future psychotic depression. Despite this, Andrea stopped taking her medication in March 2000, and then their 5th and final child was born on November 30th, 2000, named Mary Deborah. So this was 8 months after Andrea stopped taking her medication, and she had now given birth to 5 children in around a 6-year period time. So the doctor said that they shouldn't have any more children, but they still had 1 more. After Mary's birth, Andrea seemed to be coping okay for the first few months, but on March 12, 2001, Andrea's father died and she began to spiral. She stopped taking all of her medication, she mutilated and cut herself, she read the Bible obsessively, and also stopped feeding the children. She said that she felt they'd been eating too much previously. Andrea also said that she thought there were video cameras in the ceiling of their home and that people on television were communicating with her and the children. So all of this is like major red flags. The paranoia, the like religious ideology, even though she was religious before, it all always kind of seemed like a mental health thing, like very extremism, brainwashing almost. One of their neighbors named Mike Clay said they had 5 kids. That's a lot of people in a small space. And she was there 24/7 and homeschooling. That's a lot to handle. So yeah, the kids weren't even going to school. She was with them all the time in this tiny space while Rusty went to work.
Yeah.
In April 2001, Andrea went into the care of Dr. Mohammed Saeed. He treated her briefly with Haldol, but then stopped because he said that she did not seem psychotic. She returned to the doctor in May and was treated for 10 days. She was released and told to think positive thoughts, and it was recommended that she see a psychologist. Good old positive thoughts.
Yeah. You know, like sometimes I feel like we often discuss if postpartum psychosis or postpartum depression is an excuse for some cases, but I really feel in this case like this is an example of how she was failed. Go home, think positive thoughts, you'll be right. This was a very lackadaisical approach to care for her. There was no, like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and like we mentioned at the start, I do think this case was like eye-opening to a lot of people about mental health, and I think nowadays as society's progressed, even in just the last 10 years, like mental health is much less stigmatized and more people feel comfortable talking about it and being open about it, whereas back then it wasn't like that at all, even though it wasn't even that long ago. By May 2001, her mental health had rapidly declined. She was said to be in a near catatonic state. On May 3rd, 2001, Andrea filled the bathtub in their home in the middle of the day. She would later say that she had planned to drown the children that day, but decided against it. She was hospitalized again on May 4th. Her psychiatrist determined that she was likely suicidal and assumed that she planned to drown herself in the bath. I was like, well, she was only planning to drown herself in the bath, so like, whatever.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, like get on back home. Ridiculous. By June 2001, the family were living in Clear Lake City in Houston. Andrea was still under the care of Dr. Saeed. The doctor had advised Rusty to not leave Andrea alone at all. He said that she needed to be supervised at all times.
I feel like too, Sorry, that's a big escalation from April. So we're now at June, only a few months later, where he's like, go home and think positive thoughts. And by June, he's telling Rusty to not leave her alone with the children and she needs to be supervised 24 hours a day. So obviously there was a big escalation that was also realized by the doctor at that time.
Yeah, that's true. It must have been pretty severe considering he seemed pretty chill at first.
Yeah.
But of course, despite this, on June 20th, Rusty left Andrea at home alone with the 5 babies so that he could go to work. His mother, Dora, was scheduled to arrive at the home 1 hour after he left in order to assist Andrea. But in that hour, Andrea murdered her 5 children. She filled the bathtub with water, and just graphic details ahead about the murder of these children. The first child she drowned was Paul, who was 3 years old. She then killed Luke, who was 2, and John, who was 5. She laid the bodies of the boys in her bed. She then drowned Mary, who was 6 months old, and she left Mary's body floating in the tub. Noah, who was 7 years old, came in and asked his mother what was wrong with the baby. He started to try to run and escape, but she caught him. She put him in the tub, and he fought for his life. He came up for air twice, but Andrea overpowered him and drowned him.
It's so horrible because a 7-year-old and even the 5-year-old would have known what was going on. Like the littler kids, maybe not as much. Like I still think they would have been aware and fought for their lives, but a 7-year-old who tried to run away and she still...
Is like aware.
Yeah, like absolutely just horrifying.
Yeah, it's really sad. Andrea took Mary's body and placed her in John's arms in the bed. She called 911 and asked for police assistance. So the dispatcher said, "What's your name?" She said, "Andrea Yates." The dispatcher said, "What's the problem?" She said, "I just need him to come." The dispatcher, "Is your husband there?" Andrea, "No." Dispatcher, "Well, what's the problem?" Andrea, "I need him to come." Dispatcher, I need to know why we're coming, ma'am. Is he standing there next to you?" Andrea, "No." Dispatcher, "She?" Andrea, "Pardon me?" So they both seem confused because Andrea isn't being clear. The dispatcher trying to figure out what she means, like maybe someone's kind of like not letting her speak on the phone. Is she being like held? So then the dispatcher says, "Are you having a disturbance? Are you ill? Or what?" Andrea says, "Yes, I'm ill." Dispatcher, "Do you need an ambulance?" Andrea, "No, I need a police officer." "Yeah, send an ambulance." Dispatcher, "What's the problem?" Andrea, Dispatcher, "Hello?" Andrea, "I just need a police officer."
What's your name? What's the problem? I just need him to come. Is your husband there? No. Well, what's the problem? I need him to come. I need to know why we're coming, ma'am. Is he there standing next to you? She? Are you having a disturbance? Are you ill or what? Yes, I'm ill. You need an ambulance? No, I need a police officer. Well, send an ambulance.
I've listened to a few of the clips. They are pretty poor quality. Obviously, this is now, 25 plus years ago, so they aren't as great quality as the ones we get these days. But it's like, as a dispatcher, it would be frustrating. It just is a frustrating conversation.
Yeah. Andrea then called Rusty and told him to come home straight away. This info is from an article titled "Andrea Yates, Ill or Evil." That's how, this case, a side note, that's how this case, I remember it was when I did, my research for my projects, and as I've read more about it, it was always like, is she evil? Because they really played up the Satan, devil, religious part of it a lot, of, was she possessed by the devil? So that's how it was kind of sensationalized. So this is from that article. This is a quote of quotes. It says, "You need to come home," she said. Puzzled, he asked. He is Rusty. "What's going on?" She just repeated her statement and then added, "It's time, I did it." Not entirely sure what she meant, but in light of her recent illness, he asked her to explain, and she said, "It's the children." Now a chill shot through him. "Which one?" he asked. "All of them." When police arrived at the home, Andrea was standing soaking wet in front of the house. She told the officers, "I just killed my children." Rusty arrived at the home soon after, and he was reported to have screamed, "How could you do this?" and he collapsed into the fetal position.
John Cannon, who's the police spokesperson, described for the media what they had found at the scene. He said on a double bed in the back master bedroom, 4 children were laid out beneath a sheet, clothed and soaking wet. All of them were dead with their eyes wide open. In the bathtub, a young boy was submerged amid feces and vomit floating on the surface. He looked to be the oldest, and he was also dead. Andrea was questioned by police. Who killed your children? She replied, I killed my children. Why did you kill your children? Because I'm a bad mother. Had the children done something to make her want to kill them, the officer asked. No. You weren't mad, they asked her. No. She also recounted the events of the morning. She said she'd gotten out of bed at 8:10 a.m. and Rusty had left for work at 9. All of the children were awake and most of them were eating cereal for breakfast. Andrea said she also had some cereal. Once Rusty left, she filled the bathtub to 3 inches from the top. She said that Noah's last words were, I'm sorry. She told police that she believed she wasn't a good mother because her children were not developing correctly. And she said that she had been considering hurting her children for years and that she needed to be punished because she wasn't a good mother. The family dog had also been locked up on the day of the murders when it was usually allowed to roam freely around. It was alleged that Andrea locked the dog up so that it wouldn't interfere with her killing the children. The day after the murders, Andrea was evaluated by Dr. Melissa Ferguson while she was in jail. She screamed, couldn't I have just killed one to fulfill the prophecy? Couldn't I have offered Mary? Are they in heaven? Dr. Ferguson would say that Andrea had said her children were not righteous and they had stumbled because she was evil and that they could never be saved because of how she was raising them. Andrea also then paraphrased Luke 17:2, saying, it is better for someone to tie a millstone around their neck and cast them into a river than to stumble. So Andrea appeared before a judge on June 22nd, 2001. She was appointed a public defender at the time, but Rusty eventually spoke with an attorney who was a family friend named George Parnham, and he asked George to take Andrea's case. When he went to see Andrea for the first time after the murders, she said to him, you'll be greatly rewarded. She also told Rusty that she didn't want the attorney that he had sourced and told him to have a nice life. But Rusty would later find out that Andrea had been given a sedative during this visit. So, she obviously was very unwell mentally based on what she was speaking to the doctor about. But this is just all part of kind of the situation at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea would tell officials that she heard the voice of Satan coming out of the walls of her jail. A doctor named Dr. Lucy Puryear, who was a psychiatrist from the Baylor College of Medicine, said she was the sickest person I have ever seen in my life. They ordered a psychiatric examination for Andrea, and one psych asked Andrea what she thought would happen to the children. She indicated that she believed God would take them up, and he reversed the question and asked what might have happened if she hadn't taken their lives. She said, I guess they would have continued stumbling, which meant they would have gone to hell. He wanted to know specifically what they had done to give her the idea that they weren't behaving properly. She responded that they didn't treat Rusty's mother well and that they don't do things that God likes. The funerals for the children were held on June 27th, 2001. They were all placed in small cream-coloured caskets and they were all open caskets. Mary was dressed in pink. At the end of July 2001, Andrea was indicted for capital murder in the cases of Noah, John and Mary. Because she had killed someone under the age of 6 and had killed more than one person, she was eligible for the death penalty. She pled not guilty by reason of insanity. A competency proceeding began in September 2001. Her attorneys filed hundreds of pages of documents about her mental illness. A clinical psychologist interviewed Andrea on 4 occasions that year. On June 25th, she had shown signs of psychosis and hallucinations. She had said, as we mentioned, that she'd seen Satan in her cell and that he was talking to her. She said she didn't want an attorney and wanted her hair cut into the shape of a crown because she believed she had 666 imprinted on her scalp. Andrea was medicated again, and by August, her condition had improved. She was able to hold a coherent conversation, but she still said that she believed Satan lived inside her and the way to get rid of him was for her to die. Despite all of this, on September 24th, the jury determined that Andrea was competent to stand trial. In October, Andrea's attorneys asked to have her confession thrown out because she hadn't been competent to waive her rights, and they asked the court to declare the insanity plea to be unconstitutional because it was not in touch with what we now know about the true nature of mental illness. Andrea was interviewed by the prosecution psychiatrist, Dr. Park Yates, in November 2001, and that interview was taped. She said, "I was pretty determined to do what Satan told me to do." She also indicated that she felt by killing her children before they went downhill morally, she was ensuring they would go to heaven. That's the only place, she said, where they would be safe. Dr. Dietz had asked her several times whether she knew what she had done was wrong, and she said yes. She had planned for at least a month to kill them at some point when she was alone with them. Jury selection for her trial began in January 2002. 8 women and 4 men were selected. That's an interesting choice to me because obviously women, you would think, would be more empathetic towards children. I guess maybe their thinking was that they'd be more empathetic towards a struggling mother. I don't know. But anyway, it was 8 women and 4 men. 7 of the jurors had children and 2 had psychology degrees. Her first trial began on February 18th, 2002. As we mentioned, she was being tried on 2 counts of capital murder, 1 for the 2 older boys and 1 for Mary. The prosecution claimed that Andrea had drowned the 5 children and knew it was illegal and wrong. Dr. Dietz would testify during the trial and say that Andrea had been influenced by an episode of Law & Order in which a woman drowned her children and ended up being acquitted by reason of insanity. The defense argued that she didn't know what she was doing because she'd been legally insane, and they said she'd been suffering from postpartum depression with psychotic features and that her delusions had driven her to kill her children. On March 12th, 2002, so the trial didn't even run for a month, but on March 12th, 2002, after the jury deliberated for less than 3 hours, Andrea was convicted on the 2 counts of capital murders. She was not charged for the deaths of Paul and Luke. She was sentenced to life in prison, and at that point, she would be eligible for parole in 2041 when she was 77. She was sent to the Mountain View Unit, which is a state psychiatric prison in Eastern Texas. So now this is kind of some chronological things that happened after she was convicted. She was hospitalized multiple times in 2003 and 2004 because she refused to eat. Her attorney, George Parnham, filed an appeal in April 2004. In July that year, Rusty filed for divorce from Andrea. That's not very, well, it goes against his beliefs probably.
Not very evangelical.
Yeah. On January 6, 2005, the Texas First Court of Appeals reversed Andrea's conviction. This happened after Dr. Dietz admitted that he had given materially false testimony during the trial, and that was in regards to the Law and Order episode that apparently influenced Andrea. Author Suzanne O'Malley, who covered the trial for the Oprah magazine, the New York Times, and NBC, she had previously been a writer for Law & Order, and she reported that no such episode had ever existed. So he kind of...
Crazy to just throw that out in a trial.
Why was this not fact-checked before? I don't know. Like, so many questions, but anyway.
Well, what you have down below, I was like, when I was first reading the notes and, like, refreshing, I was like, there is a Law & Order episode, but I swear it's based on her, which it is.
Not on...
Not before this happened.
So the court agreed unanimously that the jury may have been influenced by the false testimony and ordered that a new trial should take place. As we just mentioned, Law & Order Criminal Intent did air an episode years after the Yates murders, and this episode was partly based on this case. In March 2005, Andrea and Rusty's divorce was finalised. She got $7,000 in cash and was also awarded the right to be buried near the children. She also received a nursing share. I'm like, this is a very strange settlement. What's she doing with a nursing share? But anyway. Andrea was also granted part of Rusty's NASA retirement benefits. In January 2006, she again entered pleas of not guilty by reason of insanity. She was granted release on bail in February 2006 on the condition that she be admitted to a mental health facility. Her second trial began on June 26, 2006. During this trial, it was discussed how her doctor had advised Rusty not to leave her unattended, and despite this, Rusty began leaving her alone with the kids for short periods of time before the murder. He said he believed this would improve her independence and help her not to become totally reliant on him and his mother for her maternal duties. So he kind of believed that she is the mother of these children. She should be well enough to do everything they need. So he kind of he went against the doctor's orders, absolutely.
You're just thinking about it, like, you hear some crazy things with, like, some cases. At what point, like, should Rusty also be held to some bit of accountability? Kind of like, I know this is, like, a stretch and not really the same, but, like, how Ethan Crumbly's parents were held accountable for him murdering people because they were so negligent. Like, Rusty, I feel like it should have been very clear to him that this was going on.
Yeah.
And like the doctors literally said, don't leave her alone with the children. So what point is he get any blame? But then I know that's like a whole like probably bioethical issue of like, well, he didn't commit the crime. He's not responsible for her and blah, blah, blah. But still, it's like, dude, come on.
When I did post on Instagram that we were doing this case, someone basically sent that exact message and said that he definitely has responsibility in what happened. He also had the responsibility to care for the children. He went against medical advice and did what he thought was best.
Had more children also.
Yeah. I know, and I always bring it up when we talk about cases like this. In Lindsay Clancy, the same thing. He just went out to get dinner, and that's when she murdered the children. Yeah, I know, it's an interesting
I just feel
discussion.
like Rusty like misstepped multiple times when there was like such obvious red flags. Went against medical advice twice of not having more children and not leaving her alone with them. And I just think he was the one pushing this religious extremism agenda on her, saying like, we're gonna have as many kids as possible, blah blah blah. Then also gave her nothing, put her in a tiny trailer with all of these children. And I was thinking, I guess this is more of like a discussion point, but like, no wonder she thought she was a bad mother. She's alone in this tiny trailer or tiny house with 5 kids that she's homeschooling, and is being told that bad mothers who are going to hell create bad children who will go to hell. Of course, it's probably very hard to manage all these children. I'm sure they're misbehaving and acting a little crazy. And in her mind, she's being told that means that they're going to hell. She's a bad mom. These kids are going to hell. She's going to hell. And she probably just kind of totally spiraled. And that's what she thought she was doing, that she was saving them from going to hell.
Yeah. So, as we mentioned, Rusty was leaving her alone with the kids. Her mother expressed shock when she found this out, saying that Andrea was absolutely not stable enough to care by herself for the children. Andrea's brother also testified that Rusty had told him that all depressed people needed a swift kick in the pants to get them motivated
get
help. Yeah.
It's so annoying. Arrest him immediately.
Rusty told the media that he had apparently never been advised by doctors or psychiatrists that Andrea was psychotic or that she could harm the children. He told the Dallas Observer, "If I'd ever known she was psychotic, we would never have even considered having more children." This was despite their doctor, Dr. Star Branch, having medically recorded down that they had been advised against having more children. Her note
She was literally...
Yeah.
Finish your point.
So they pulled out her medical records. It says, apparently patient and husband plan to have as many babies as nature will allow, ! This will surely guarantee future psychotic depression.
And also for him to be like, no, I had no idea. She was literally committed multiple times on medication. Like he had to like bring her to the hospital.
Held a knife to her throat.
Yeah, gnawing off her fingers. And he's like, I hadn't, what?
Yeah.
Mentally ill?
Yeah.
Andrea? No.
Andrea also told another psychiatrist that prior to their last child, quote, she had told Rusty that she did not want to have sex because Dr. Star Branch had said she may hurt her children. Rusty, she said, simply asserted his procreative religious beliefs, complimented her as a good mother, and persuaded her that she could handle more children.
So sad.
On July 26, 2006, 1 month after the trial started, Andrea was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and she was ordered to go to a mental health facility. Since January 2007, Andrea has been at the Kerrville State Hospital. She has the opportunity to undergo a yearly review to see if she is competent to leave the facility. Rusty appeared on an episode of Oprah in 2015. In the time since the murders, he had married a woman named Laura Arnold, and they had 1 son together. Laura did file for divorce in 2015. Oprah asked if he forgave Andrea, and he said yes. Forgiveness kind of implies that I've ever really blamed her. In some sense, I've never really blamed her because I've always blamed her illness. This is despite him previously saying he didn't think that she was mentally
What mental illness?
Yeah. So obviously Andrea is still in this facility. Over the years, it's kind of been reported on her progress and if she's still there. In 2022, people reported that Andrea has waived her yearly right to be reviewed and therefore she's basically declined her chance to ever leave the facility. They have reported that she's never undergone a review and has chosen to continue her treatment. She's had the same attorney throughout this whole process, George, the one we mentioned earlier. He spoke to the media then and said that Andrea is happy in the facility. She's where she needs to be. I mean, hypothetically, where would she go? What would she do? He said that Andrea agrees for the children and watches home videos of them. She also spends her time making aprons, crafts, and gifts in the craft room and anonymously sells them. The money goes to PSI, which is Postpartum Support International Yates Children Memorial Fund, which was founded by George and his wife, and that's dedicated to women's mental health, particularly postpartum mental health. George has said that he often goes to Clear Lake to leave flowers on the children's graves. He said there's a large headstone with pictures of the kids engraved on it. He said that Andrea is glad someone is putting flowers on the grave. He went on to say she loved those children and she, in her psychotic state, believed she was saving their lives, saving their souls. He went on to say, I really want the general public to be aware of the reality of women's mental health in the criminal justice system and to be able to understand how through the eyes of a mother experiencing postpartum psychosis, she believes she's doing the right thing by her children. Just because a person who is psychotic plans something doesn't mean they don't meet the insanity standard. There was an article from last year, 2024, confirming that Andrea is still declining to be assessed and have her situation reviewed. This is a quote from that. It says, while Yates is eligible for a hearing to determine her sanity, she's not required to seek release. According to the courts, she can spend the rest of her life in the facility. She talks to her husband monthly, which is what the article said, even though it's her ex-husband, despite the fact that they divorced and he has remarried. I don't know if he's remarried again after his 2015 divorce. I haven't really been able to clarify that, but at one stage he was remarried anyway. So it seems like they do still talk. Rusty has actually established a website for the children. It's kind of a weird link, but it's called Yates Kids. I'll link it on the blog if you want to go and check it out. It says, a site dedicated to the memory of my children. It says, this site is a memorial for my precious children, Noah, John, Paul, Luke, and Mary, who passed away in June 2001. This site contains one page for each of my children and another page for our family. Thank you for visiting Rusty Yates. So you can click through and there's like a bunch of photos of the kids. He talks about all the kids, what they like. He says Noah's favorite color was purple. He likes Scooby-Doo and who liked watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So let's go to John for loads. John's favorite colors were black and red. He loved rough housing and T-ball, and he had an interest in heavy-duty equipment. So it's a nice way to go to this website and learn about the kids. Paul was 3. He loved Rocky and Bullwinkle and the NASA channel, and he loved building and playing. Luke doesn't have the same kind of bio as the other guys, but this is a little bit from the page about him. It says, I was a big boy. I never saw myself as little. I always wanted to do what everyone else around me was doing. One time, Mummy's family was having a picnic and some people were playing volleyball. I walked up to the net during a game and held my arms straight up, expecting to play. Mary, he obviously writes, she was obviously only a few months old. He writes, I was a really good little baby. The only times I cried was when I was hungry or needed changing or needed to be held. With 4 older brothers, Daddy and Mummy think I would have been a tomboy. So he still references Andrea a lot in this website, mentions her a lot. There's photos of Andrea. There's a whole page about the family. He says, Mummy converted our living room into a schoolroom complete with a marker board, desks, and wall decorations. School usually lasted 2 to 3 hours a day. After school, we would eat lunch, usually sandwiches or soup. We were very good about helping Mummy and eating at the table. Mummy tried to run errands during the day so that we would all have more time together at night. So he does speak a lot. He acknowledges Andrea. It's an interesting website if you want to go through and get an idea about the family. Obviously, it's a very glowing picture of the family because it's a memorial site, but it is interesting to have a look at.
Yeah. I wonder if he's like since gone to any type of therapy and kind of learned more about mental illness, because now he does seem to say more of the right things about it.
Yeah. Like in 2015, obviously, he said it was the illness. It wasn't really Andrea. So there is another article from 2024 where Rusty speaks about how he calls her and speaks to her recently. He still works at NASA, still keeps up the family website. He said in 2024 to News Nation, Andrea was a wonderful mother. When someone acts so out of character like that, it's a flag that something else is going on. As far as forgiveness goes, it's kind of the start. He said he's been able to forgive his ex-wife, to understand it's a sickness. He said, but for her sickness, she would never, ever, ever have harmed our children.
I'm glad that he seems to like speak more empathetically about it now.
Yeah.
But back then, I think like not specifically solely on him, but I think that Andrea lived like a very sad life and that he didn't really help her at all. I mean, like I said, she seemed very isolated with these little children, which is a lot of work. There was many little children. She was pregnant half the time, taking care of the children as well.
And also,
as a pregnant person, I know that's exhausting. I couldn't even imagine chasing around all these kids while being pregnant in the small confined space, not a lot of contact with the outside world, it seems. That's enough to drive anyone insane.
In between her having these 5 children in 6 years, she also had at least 1 miscarriage as well. I haven't really been able to clarify if she had more than one, but she definitely had at least 1 miscarriage. So again, that would take a toll on your body, on your mental health.
And especially with the religious aspect
Yeah.
of, I don't know if she like blamed herself, like if that was another Satan thing, like showing that she can't be a good mom, that
And
she
it could have
lost
even
this baby.
been part of the reasoning why they decided to have another child against medical advice, because maybe she thought she had to make up for the loss. Like, I don't know, obviously it's all speculation, but I have no doubt that the miscarriage didn't contribute to her mental health improving at all. That would, it would be a horrible thing to go through. Plus having all these children, homeschooling, Rusty works long hours. It would be a lot. Plus her having this postpartum psychosis, not even just postpartum depression. She actually was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think she like really had no chance, especially with the kind of more extreme religious views that were being thrown around on top of it. I think that she was just super vulnerable and really no one helped her.
Yeah, even things like when Rusty left her alone for an hour because his mother was due in the next hour, he could have just waited. Like, I know you have to go to work, but I feel like he did that as part of his kind of experiment to leave her alone for short periods of time to show her that she could still be a mother and be able to fulfill her maternal duties. If the mother was only annoying. 1 hour away, I'm sure either the mother could have come earlier or he could have gone to work later. Like, there could have been some way to work around it so she wasn't alone with the kids for an hour, but I feel like he purposely did that because he thought it was a short enough amount of time that nothing could really happen, and was proven very, very wrong.
Just like saying like a mother should be able to do her motherly duties, and what was it, like depressed people just need a kick in the pants.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what he was also probably saying to her behind closed doors.
Yeah.
It just makes me really sad because I'm sure it was a very sad, stressful experience for her leading up to this.
Yeah, it feels like too their involvement with the pastor and the pastor's wife that we mentioned earlier, like that obviously kind of fed into her mental illness, saying, you're a horrible, I'm paraphrasing, but when they wrote to her, like, you are evil and all that type of stuff, like that would have...
Repent.
Yeah, repent. That may have started or exacerbated what she was feeling already. And they seem to be quite close with the pastor and his wife. So it's just a perfect storm of things being fed to her and, I guess, circumstances that led to this happening.
Yeah, and I'm sure they say things like, oh, if you just repent and like pray harder and do this better and do more, like devote yourself to God more, like it'll all be okay.
Yeah, get rid of Satan.
Yeah, and then she feels like she's trying to do that, but nothing's changing because she's in these just like impossible circumstances for anything to get better. So when the kids are acting out and being crazy and she feels like she can't control them, she probably feels like it's her fault because she's not like letting God into her life, or she's letting Satan into her life and it's not getting better. So she thinks her kids are going to hell, and that's what she thought she should do to save them.
There are a lot of parallels in this case to Lindsay Clancy, and I keep mentioning that one because we have covered it quite extensively. But in the Lindsay Clancy case, if you're not familiar with it, she ended up murdering her 3 children. This was only in the past few years, so a very recent case, while her husband was out to get takeout for dinner. But she had purposely set it up. She found a takeout place that was like further enough away that she would have enough time to murder the children because he would have to go there and come back. So she set it up also, like she planned it to an extent. So I wonder if the outcome of this case will have an impact on cases like that in the future. Like Lindsay was also unwell. She'd been receiving treatment her case hasn't gone to trial yet because she tried to jump out of the house and basically is now a paraplegic. So she's been receiving treatment. I think it's meant to go ahead this year or maybe early next year, but there are some interesting parallels in that they were both receiving treatment, were both left alone for a very short amount of time, and both essentially had this plan to carry out whenever they could get enough time to do so.
It is interesting too, because with her case and like really any insanity case, the argument's always like, did they know it was wrong, or were they in this like alternate universe? And they argued that like Andrea did know what she was doing was wrong. And I think that's true to some extent. Like she did kind of plan it and like hide it and wait for when Rusty wasn't home. I don't know if that was more so no one would stop her, but she also didn't really try to hide it. It's not like she covered it up and all that. Like, so I do think she like knew it was wrong, but not in a sane way, because then she called the police. She was standing outside waiting for them. Like, I do think that this was definitely like an insanity type case.
I feel like she knew it was wrong in terms of actually taking the lives of the children, but she thought she was doing it for the right reasons to save them.
Yeah,
like, she knew that murder was wrong, but basically her reason for doing
that she had to do it.
Yeah, was compelling enough that she was saving them in her own mind.
Yeah, and then she didn't really try to like hide it either. She was just like, yeah, I did it. Come get them.
If you want to learn more about the family, as I mentioned, the Yates Kids site is linked on the blog. There's some videos on there. If you want to check out more about the family, I recommend checking it out.
So that's it for this episode. I'll be interested to know what you guys think and what your opinions are on this one, because it is one that always garners a lot of opinions. So definitely let us know in like the Spotify comments or in our Instagram comments or anything like that. Everything will be on the blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com, and make sure you're following us on Instagram at True Crime Society, and follow our backup as well, just to be safe with all the drama going on. That's True Crime Society Backup. My Instagram, if you want to follow me, is _Olivia. Olivia is still in Instagram purgatory, but she was TCS Olivia, so just keep an eye out if you want to follow her as well. Check us out on Patreon. We do weekly bonus episodes as well as these main episodes, all without ads. We also release the main episodes a whole day earlier, so you get earlier access to them. Plus we have some chats on there, and it's just like a nice little community to have on Patreon, so check us out there. Otherwise, all the usual stuff. Leave us some comments on Spotify. Nice ones only, because the rude ones hurt my feelings, and I'm 8 months pregnant, so please stop it. Not that there's that many, but I'm just kidding. Make sure you're still following us, subscribed, all those things. Share to your Instagram stories. We love when you guys do that and show us like what you're doing while you're listening to the podcast. We love to reshare them. Love seeing your pets and hobbies and all that. So keep that up.
Yeah. If you have any meta tips, let me know too.
Yes, meta contacts. Reach out, please.
If you know Mark Zuckerberg's number, just give me a call. Just want to have a
Tell
chat.
him to reach out. And that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Stay safe out there. Peace out.
See ya.